Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to watch the untold history of German America, Deutschamerikaner. You know, there have been a lot of German settlers going to the States. Basically, all the brave people who are not conservative, they went to the States because Germany is conservative. Still is. Still will be. And actually, there was this vote, I don't know, when the USA was founded, which language should become the official language. And one vote voted more for English. If there would be one person voting more for the Germans, everybody would have to learn German in school and you would suffer. Yes. Anyway, this video has 1.5 million views and it's a very interesting topic. I don't know much about it, to be honest. So let's go.
The United States of America is one of the world's most influential countries, an Anglo nation with an English-based culture and British heritage. Or is it? Most Americans today speak English as their first language, and their culture is fairly homogeneous throughout the country when compared to other large nations. But
homogeneous? Isn't it the most mixed country in the world because everybody is an immigrant?
It's no secret that Americans have a plethora of origins from outside the British Isles. But it would surprise many to learn that according to the census data released by the United States government on ethnic self-identification, the largest heritage in the country would actually be from the nation of Germany.
The largest,
England,
even.
Which is the basis of this video. Maps are usually a pretty good way to picture these sorts of things, and thankfully there are a litany of maps on the ethnic origins of the people of the United States, and as you can see in all of them, Germans seemingly dominate in terms of area they take up, but the real situation is much more complicated and interesting than these maps would suggest, because not only are most of these areas themselves extremely ethnically heterogeneous, but unlike Europe and most of the rest of the world, there are only a minority of people in the United States that are entirely of one ethnicity, with most Americans being able to trace ancestry to many different nations. Because of these
You're all bastards.
nuances, there's still debate as to whether the largest ancestral chunk of the U.S. comes from Germany or England, and in the last U.S. Census, around 46 million people declared full or partial German ancestry, with an additional 2 million when including other German-speaking peoples, such as Austrians or Swiss, accounting for about 15% of America's population, and in the same census, only 26 million people claimed English ancestry, which was only 8% of the population. However, since 1990, the United States...
That's double German ancestry. That's crazy.
Census has allowed its citizens to identify ethnically as American, and we're not talking about natives here. This is a very complex topic, so I'll save it for a future video, but the majority of those that identify as American, rather than a European ethnic group, are overwhelmingly of British stock, and they numbered around 21 million people, which would bring up the total number of Americans with English ancestry to almost equal with the Germans, and indeed before the 1990 census, when American was given as an option for ethnicity, those that self-identified as English were the largest group in the United States. So in all likelihood, even though there are more Americans with at least some English ancestry, there are more people of pure German ancestry than pure English ancestry.
Guys, that is crazy. I did not know that it's this much. That is the... What?
But how did this come to be the case? Even though the United States was founded by Englishmen and they did dominate early on in the country, they did allow immigration from other regions of Europe, with there being a moderate wave of Germans entering the colonies in the late 1600s, mostly settling in the state of Pennsylvania, which had the first major German settlement in North America, that being Germantown in Philadelphia.
Why Pennsylvania? Where is that? That's... okay, here. Well, good to know. Should have shown the map, guys.
One of the most famous cases of a large group of Germans settling in America were the Hessian soldiers, recruited from the Landgrafschaft of Hesse-Kassel in the Holy Roman Empire, and they fought for the British during the American Revolutionary War until their defeat by George Washington after his crossing of the Delaware River, and at least 3,000 of the captured Hessians ended up settling in Pennsylvania.
Hessians? Who are the Hessians? Is he spelling it correctly? Hessian? Hessian. That's Chinese. Maybe he was trying to say Hessen. Look, that's a state in Germany. Maybe it's Hessen? I don't know. You tell me.
Year 1790, which was the first census year for the United States since independence, Germans made up around 7% of the population of the states and up to 1/3 of the state of Pennsylvania, and many villages and towns in western Pennsylvania retained their German heritage by teaching the German language to their youth and building Lutheran churches. Now, you also have the Pennsylvania Dutch, a subgroup of German Americans in eastern Pennsylvania, and their exonym is a bit of a misnomer, saying how they're not actually descended from the Dutch at all, but from German immigrants from Rhineland-Palatinate who formed their own identity north of Philadelphia, a region known as Pennsylvania Dutch Country or Deutschamerikaner. Another notable German group in Pennsylvania would be the Amish, and although many Amish
Wait, what?
Another notable German group in Pennsylvania would be the Amish, and although
The Amish are German? What?
many Amish might identify as Pennsylvania Dutch and vice versa, the two terms are not interchangeable, with the Amish having a very distinct religious practice, along with other cultural traditions such as the rejection of mainstream technology and isolation from American culture, which is...
That's so funny, guys. The rejection of mainstream technology. That sounds German, actually. Yeah. If you introduce new technology into German culture, first 5 years will be, what is this? I don't want to touch it. Is it privacy secure? You know? I guess the Amish are German after all, but it's surprising me because I never heard about that. I should visit them.
Is where you'll find some of the last remaining monolingual German speakers in the United States. The Amish are essentially a snapshot of 19th century German American society, seeing how they have the highest birth rate of nearly any group in the country, around 7 children per woman, which is on par with the African country of Niger, and are the only group in the United States that are exempt from social security tax, seeing how their traditional family roles call for taking care of their own elderly.
Guys, anyone knows something more about the Amish? Will they speak German? If I go there, can I communicate with them in German? Guys, if that's so, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna live with them, hide my camera, and I'm gonna make a video.
Now, I really like this map of American ancestry because it shows how connected most Americans are, with many Pennsylvanians migrating west to the Midwest during the period of American expansionism. As more Americans moved west from the original colonies, they were joined later on by immigrants from Europe, and the largest phase of German migration to America also occurred during this time, with migration skyrocketing after the 1840s, mostly settling in the Midwest states west of Pennsylvania, such as Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin, and they mostly either founded their own towns or integrated with already existing German settlements. German immigrants and American-born Germans were also joined by Austrian immigrants from the Austrian Empire, who settled in pretty much the same area, as well as the Swiss, who mostly went to Utah. And when comparing the climates of Utah and Switzerland, it actually...
That's why Utah is so expensive, huh? It's the Swiss.
Makes a lot of sense. In the 1800s, ethnic Germans might or might not have assimilated with Anglo-American settlements in the same region, with many opting instead to integrate with other Germanic groups, especially the Dutch, Norwegians, and other Scandinavians. During this period, German culture and language was abound around the Great Lakes region, with German being the largest minority language in the country for over 100 years, spreading out even further to the Plains region to the west, especially the Dakotas, Nebraska, and Iowa. However, after the start of World War I in 1970, German culture and language was highly oppressed in all areas of the country, with many German Americans being accused of treason or spying for simply speaking German in public. This caused the sharp decline in immigration from Germany and the movement to phase out the teaching of German in all public schools in the Midwest, with the area instead becoming one of the hubs of mainstream American culture, which is why the Midwest today is seen by many as representing the average American or middle America. The process of learning English and adopting American cultural values is known as Americanization, and aside from a handful of communities in the Plains region and Deutschamerikaner, pretty much all German traditions and culture disappeared.
Don't speak the enemy's language.
German culture in America took an even further hit after World War II, and by this time, almost all of the German settlements in the Midwest and the Great Plains had been fully Americanized. However, their heritage has been acknowledged and passed down throughout the generations, even if most German surnames have been Anglicanized, such as Eisenhower, Schmidt, Gutmann, Fischer, and many others. Today, there are no U.S. states that have any ethnic majority, meaning that in every single state, no group makes up over 50%. And this is true for Germans as well, though some states do come pretty close, such as North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, where Germans make up over 40% of the population, which makes them the most ethnically homogenous states in all of America, although they themselves are still extremely ethnically diverse when compared to any European country. When mapping out the largest European ethnicity by state, it's easy to see just how much Germans dominate in the north and west of the country, with there being 23 states with the German plurality, 17 that are in.
That is so weird that the Germans still prefer to live in the north parts where it's colder, because they could have chosen to live in the warmer parts, which is nicer. Yeah, who likes the cold? But they chose the other way. Why is that? Maybe they like the cold. I don't. I would have chosen Florida, guys.
English, almost all in the South and in New England. 3 are Irish, all in the Northeast. 3 are Italian, the 3 states around the New York City metropolitan area. 3 are Spanish, all in the Southwest. And 1 is French, that being Louisiana. The German concentration in the United States is fairly contiguous, except for 2 main exceptions. That being central Texas and southern Florida, with the highest concentration spanning the northern half of the country in an area known as the German Belt, stretching from Pennsylvania all the way to California. And the area of lowest concentration would be in the deep south, with the state with the lowest percentage of Germans being Mississippi. Germans had been moving to Texas since before Texas was even a part of the U.S., or had declared independence from Mexico, with it also being of note that Germans also settled in areas of modern northern Mexico, and today Germans in central Texas have their own unique culture forged from its proximity to Mexico and the southern United States. It's also important to note that because of the proximity and high degree of integration between Canada and the United States, the North American German Belt doesn't terminate at the 49th parallel that divides the two countries, with Germans being the largest ethnic group in the province of Saskatchewan, as well as many other areas.
What? So there's a lot of Germans in Canada as well.
The Canadian prairies, such as Alberta and Manitoba. The German-Canadian community is much smaller than the American one and has a much less extensive history, with most Germans in the prairie regions coming from the Russian Empire directly before World War I, or from American immigrants of German descent from the Midwest and Plains region, seeing how the border was far more porous during the pioneer era. The German Belt today is an extremely diverse region of North America, having minorities of ethnic Scandinavians, English, many Slavic groups, along with countless Native American tribes. And although the region today is undoubtedly the whitest area in the country, it also has the largest proportion of Native Americans in the continental U.S. The German Belt actually spans an area of 1.5 million square miles, 11 times larger than the country of Germany itself, and the German population of North America is about 2/3 the size of the German population of Europe.
What? 2/3, that's 60 million people. That means 60 million German ethnics live in the States? Well, if they all come back once the US state fails and the dollar collapses, we can't handle 140 million. No, German state would collapse. There's not enough hard fear for everybody. Please stay away.
Although, as mentioned earlier, an indeterminate proportion of self-identified German Americans whose families have been in the country for generations may have ancestry from many other groups such as English, Irish, Swedish, or even Native Americans because of the relatively large numbers of natives that lived around German settlements during the pioneer era. Here's an unofficial flag for German Americans that I designed myself since my father's father is of Pennsylvania Dutch descent. I replaced the red and white stripes with the modern colors of the German flag, along with adding the insignia for the German coat of arms, with the 23 stars representing the 23 states where Germans are the largest European ethnic group.
Guys, I'm telling you, this is the start of him founding his own German state in the States. Yeah, he already has a flag and the stars.
Although German culture and language is no
Watch
longer
out.
very relevant in mainstream American society, the heritage and spirit of those original German pioneers still lives on in many Americans to this day. And whether their ancestors were farmers, miners, or even soldiers that initially came to this country to fight against us, their legacy and impact on American identity is one of the most extensive of any group in the world. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on German Americans and German American history. Und immer danke fürs Zuschauen. Das war Mason und auf Wiedersehen.
Okay, thanks, Mason. Thanks for this little video. It was very insightful. I learned a lot. There's actually much more Germans nowadays than I would have thought. I just wonder how many of those 60 million German ethnics still speak German. That would be an interesting statistic that was not mentioned. But other than that, awesome. And yeah, please answer my question about the Amish. Do they allow visitors? If yes, I will go there. So let me know what you guys think about this video. So much to learn about Germans in the world. I heard there's also a lot of German settlements in South America, especially the right-wing ones from 1945 who fled, you know. We need to watch something about that. And, look, there's a video suggested. Oh, this is it, guys. But we are not going to watch it now, but tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow.